What up, everyone? Welcome back to Knicks in 4, where we talk everything Knicks. I'm your host, Ayers. If you're new to the channel and you're enjoying what you're watching, please feel free to like, subscribe, share, comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's get into it. So, it was only a matter of time that the Knicks winning streak would come to an end. Unfortunately, it came against a team that we had no business losing to. And the funny thing about this whole situation was that in my last video, I joked around about, we're coming off impressive victories against the Celtics, against a lot of teams that we, were expected to lose against. Now, watch we come out and lose to the Charlotte Hornets. But I was just joking. I wasn't expecting us to actually lose. And lo and behold, in classic Knicks fashion, we get our behinds beat by the likes of Kelly Oubre, Terry Rozier, and a hobbling around Gordon Hayward. But am I that surprised? No, not really. But I am, to say the least. Obviously, we were expecting or not expecting to have Jalen Brunson out 2 games in a row, but obviously him being out didn't help matters. However, the game was pretty much ours for the taking, and then in the third quarter, we let it get away from us. And then in the fourth quarter, I believe we only scored 16 points in the fourth quarter, which is completely embarrassing, right? So, typical Knicks fashion, we just find a way to lose. We had everything going for us in that game for us to win, but we found a way to lose. And this was at home. This was at MSG. And, throughout the entire season, we've been a sort of inconsistent team at home. We've been a much better team on the road, and that continues to play out. But, I'm not going to be too down on the Knicks. Obviously, the 9-game winning streak was very impressive. And we lost one. Let's rebound and, see what we can do moving forward. But the video today, guys, I'm actually going to shed some light on a topic that I've been meaning to cover for quite some time. And this revolves around the situation of Ja Morant and Zion Williamson. So what we're going to be talking about today, guys, is pretty much the question of, is the best availability? Now, while obviously Zion Williamson and Ja Morant are 2 guys that no matter what team you have it throughout the entire NBA, they would choose to have a Zion Williamson or a Ja Morant over an RJ Barrett. But if any indication of recently the, circumstances surrounding both of these players, should we be answering the question or asking ourselves, is being available better than your actual ability or talent? So obviously, let's start with the whole Ja Morant situation. He was in Colorado coming off the game against Denver. And obviously, we know what happened. He live streamed himself in the club, in the strip club, waving something that he shouldn't have had his hands on. Obviously, I won't get into that, but we know exactly what that is. And as a result, he's been suspended by the team and has now been suspended by the league. And there's no telling when Ja Morant will be back with the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, according to some new information that I came across, it seems as if the police didn't find enough evidence in order to bring up actual charges against Ja Morant, but there's no telling that if the NBA will go ahead and actually give them their own suspension. So we don't know currently if Ja Morant is going to be back with the Memphis Grizzlies sometime soon or perhaps sometime later, or maybe the NBA just wants to completely shut this down. We've seen what they did with Kyrie Irving. Maybe they just want to set an example with Ja Morant, and maybe they will end up suspending him for the rest of the season, which obviously Memphis is a very good team in the West. And if Ja Morant doesn't return, that is pretty much the end of the Memphis Grizzlies, despite the talent that they still have. So Ja Morant, knucklehead doing knucklehead things, as talented as he is, he's in a situation where he's jeopardizing his career. And that is obviously jeopardizing the team itself. Moving on to Zion Williamson, we know the situation with Zion. He's had significant weight issues, which have led to significant injury issues. And currently, I believe he's out with a hamstring injury. And, this has been an ongoing thing with Zion Williamson's career since the moment he stepped into the NBA, right? He missed a full season. He missed half a season. He's back for a couple of weeks. He's out for a couple of months. So the whole Zion thing, Ja has just been out recently because of that whole ordeal in Colorado. But Zion, this has been a constant. He's been out all the time. He's been out more than he's been playing with the team. So looking at all of this unfold, right? Obviously, we know that Zion and Ja are much better players than RJ Barrett. But at this point, look at how successful the Knicks are, right? The Pelicans are basically on their way out of the play-in. The Grizzlies are expected to dip. And again, while this is not a video to try to bolster RJ Barrett to say that he's even in the same league as any of these guys, but the question remains, is availability the best ability, especially when it comes time for crunch time? When the Pelicans need Zion Williamson, he's nowhere to be found, injured or what have you. Ja Morant doing knucklehead things, now he's out. So are we willing to bet our hedges on a guy who we know will be around? Or are we willing to take a chance on guys that we know are more talented, but perhaps have some on the court and off the court issues? Now, speaking about RJ Barrett specifically, I've made videos in the past about my feelings about RJ. I've received some hate, but overall, I think most people would agree with me according to what I was saying in terms of RJ is just not that good. Now, since All-Star break, he has actually turned it around, but we know how RJ works, right? RJ is very inconsistent. He's consistently inconsistent. And while these are impressive numbers since All-Star break, 18.3 points per game, shooting 47% from the field, 4.7 rebounds, 3 assists. What's very impressive for RJ right now is his three-point percentage, 40% from three. And he is managing to turn it around, right? He, against the Charlotte Hornets, he had team high, 27 points. Obviously, that wasn't enough to win the game, but RJ has shown that he's capable of being a much better version of himself. Now, is his ceiling better than a Ja Morant ceiling or a Zion Williamson ceiling or even their floor? Probably not. But if we're, debating the circumstance of whether, those guys are talented versus being available, then it's something to really think about, because RJ Barrett, for the most part, he had like a, 2-week stint where he was injured this season. But for the most part, RJ Barrett, you can rely on him to always be there, right? No off the court issues, no on the court issues. He's a great team guy. He's a hard worker. He has all of the, intangibles that you would want in a guy, especially a professional sports player, right? So if I had to choose at this point, it's pretty difficult to say like, yeah, I'll take RJ Barrett over Ja Morant or Zion Williamson. But what's the point of having those guys if they can't play? Now, we'll see what happens with Ja Morant. If I had to place a bet on it, I would expect him to return at some point this season, especially if the police aren't going to bring about charges on him. And the situation with Zion Williamson is pretty erratic, right? He's probably going to return in a couple of weeks and he'll be back again. But it's an interesting, dilemma when you're thinking about it, all things considered, in terms of, going forward with the team's success. How does the player that you have invested, your high draft pick, your lottery pick, how does he impact the wins for the team? And the Pelicans and the Grizzlies are in quite a bit of trouble right now, and the Knicks are thriving. But, short video, guys. I just wanted to get out my thoughts on that whole situation. But I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that availability is the best ability? Would you, at this point right now, consider having an RJ Barrett who is consistently going to be there? His game may be inconsistent, but his availability, that he will be there every single game for the most part. Or would you rather, again, go with the guys who are more talented, but have injury issues, have eating issues, weight issues, self-control issues? Something to think about. But that's going to be all for the video, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. Catch you on the rebound. Peace.